Hello, everyone. Let's gather to the front and get the program started. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm Dennis Adamovich, the CEO here at the Hall. Thank you for coming out this evening. We have an exciting event planned for you here. We're all about celebration of Black History Month. This is our third year in a row, and at our core, we're all about storytelling. If you ask any one of my staff, hopefully they would tell you they are storytellers. We house the stories, we tell the stories, we curate the stories. So this evening's event is a very special evening for us, HBCUs, past, present, and future. We have a distinguished panel that really are going to explore many different places on that. And I always find that when we put folks together, there are conversations that happen that never had happened before. So I'm sure we're all excited in anticipation of that. Our mission here at the Hall is all about entertaining and educating people about college football. And this is just one of many events that we put on during the course of the year to really try to reinforce our mission. I'm going to let the program speak for itself. I do want to show a quick video just on a little bit of the history. And then I'm going to bring John Grant up. John Grant's the executive director of the Celebration Bowl, and I got to give him a lot of credit beyond just being a handsome devil that he is. John and myself, as we were talking through what panel conversations we could bring, John said, you know, this conversation's never happened before, and he was instrumental in helping me pull these people together, and he's been a great partner, not only to the Hall, but just a good friend. So John will come up, introduce who's going to be here tonight, and I just thank you for being here. Thank you.
The archives of historically black college football have been preserved on the campus of Livingstone College since the first game was played there. Historically black college football have been preserved on the campus of Livingstone College since the first game was played there in 1892. The birthplace of that original contest etched in stone and guarded by the school's ever-present Blue Bear mascot. During that inaugural game, players donned hand-fashioned uniforms and homemade cleats. As snow drifted onto the gridiron crafted on the school's front lawn, the teams fought through two 45-minute halves on that cold December afternoon, with Biddle College, now Johnson C. Smith University, being declared the winner 5-0. Playing for nothing more than the love of the game, the original cast, including Livingstone's J.W. Walker and W.J. Trent and Biddle College's Charles Shute, launched the dream of HBCU football. Since those early decades, the game has been infused with greatness by legendary names. Robinson, Payton, Rice, Strahan, and countless others have continued to craft the vision. And after nearly 125 years, the gridiron revolution continues as their descendants vie for a championship on a national stage. The prize, a trophy that represents a dream molded with endurance, sweat, and sacrifice, and the honor of being called national champions. Who will earn the right to battle for that prize in the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl this December?
Afternoon. That video really only tells part of the story. Imagine, if you will, a snowy day. Imagine handmade uniforms made by the young ladies who were part of the textile school at Livingstone College. Imagine wanting to play the game so bad that you pool your money together and you purchase one football. Imagine putting cleats into your dress shoes and taking those cleats out after practice and wearing those shoes to class. Imagine the fan who came by horse and wagon, who walked, who came by train, and stood around this field to watch the first game in that cold, wet North Carolina snow. Imagine that the two captains of each team went on to become presidents of their universities. And imagine, 125 years later, here we stand in the College Football Hall of Fame, acknowledging the commitment, the dedication, the perseverance, the desire, and the passion of young men who simply wanted to play the game. So everything you hear tonight is predicated upon those young men and the fans who were as dedicated as they were, who just wanted to see the game, and those who just wanted to play this beautiful game that we call football. So tonight, here at the College Football Hall of Fame, we welcome you. Let me correct myself and say the Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame. And I'm about to bring up one of the great faces of HBCU college football, Mr. Jay Walker. Jay is a 1994 graduate of Howard University. He was all MEAC 2 times. He was Black College Player of the Year. He played 4 years in the National Football League for the Patriots and the Vikings. He is currently in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference Hall of Fame. He is in the Howard University Hall of Fame. And he is my friend, and in my opinion, the greatest expert for HBCU football that there is. Let me introduce to you Mr. Jay Sky Walker.
And when you start saying Jay Skywalker, it takes me back to a little throwback. I want to say like Jay Sky Walker. You got to slow that down. I appreciate that, JG, Mr. Grant. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody doing nice? It's a great day. Think about the importance of just the words that you just heard from John Grant, talking about where we are. 125 years later, we are in the College Football Hall of Fame, talking about Black college football. We're going to have a great discussion here. You won't just hear from me, but obviously as the night goes on, I'll give you some of my thoughts and opinions on what is taking place. One of the things that I always like to do, being one of the people that bring HBCU football on your screen, or whether you're seeing this on your tablet for ESPN, is realizing that this game has been around for a while. This game didn't just show up. This game has some of the biggest names in the history of college football. When you talk to some of the folks, they say you can put together the greatest team in the history of the SWAC and have them go toe-to-toe with the SEC. Then the boys in the SWAC say, we'll spot the SEC 10 points and beat them. That's how good they're talking about. And when you look at the names, the Walter Paytons, the Jerry Rice, if you think about it, the FCS landscape, the 4 major awards they have are all named after HBCU legends. The Coach of the Year is the Robinson Award after legendary Grambling coach Eddie Robinson. The Player of the Year is the Payton Award after the NFL's all-time leading rusher, one of the greatest ever, Walter Payton. The Freshman of the Year, the best freshman, is named after Jerry Rice, who went to Mississippi Valley State, the Rice Awards. And then you've also got the Defensive Player of the Year, which is the Buck Buchanan Award, who was a defensive stalwart at Grambling State University. I believe that we've had a fantastic past. The present has been great, but the future is even brighter. With the emergence of the the Celebration Bowl, giving these young opportunities, these young men the opportunity that I wish I had. When I played at Howard University, we had 4 games that were considered on national TV, and that was when they were only on BET. Now, you can not only find 4 games, but you can find the Celebration Bowl played on ABC, the MEAC SWAC Challenge played on ESPN2, and countless other games throughout the season. Before I go on, I want to acknowledge somebody who took the time to join us here, North Carolina Central head football coach Trey Oliver. Thank you for coming by and listening on the panel. We may pick your brain as this goes on. Appreciate you being here. But y'all didn't come just to hear from me. So I've got a fantastic panel that's here with us. And let's start off with let's bring the youngster up first. He was a fantastic quarterback at Bowie State University. He threw for over 10,000 yards during his collegiate career. He was not once, but twice the recipient of the Deacon Jones Outstanding Black College Football Player of the Year Award. His 2018 season, stats alone, threw for over 4,100 yards. That's 5th all-time Division II football. Give it up for Bowie State alumnus Amir Hall. Playing football is one thing, but having the ability to play and coach is something that's not easy to do. North Carolina A&T head football coach and Mississippi Valley State alumnus Sam Washington is one of those gentlemen. He was a defensive coordinator for the Aggies as they rose to national prominence. As a player at Mississippi Valley State, Sam Washington played cornerback where he tried to cover Jerry Rice. No easy task, but also went on to play in the NFL with stops for Washington, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. And it was ironic covering the games this year. He had some records that were broken by Pittsburgh Steelers defensive backs this year, and Coach Washington played a while ago. Round of applause for the leader of the Aggies, your HBCU national champions and Celebration Bowl champions, Sam Washington. You want to come here? Let's get this out the way now because they're always here. Say what y'all always say. Aggie pride. All right. All right, we got that out of the way. All right. So we've got the player, we've got the coach and the player, but we also have to take care of some people that make things happen behind the scenes. And I think we've got no better representative than the current commissioner of the CIAA, or the CIAA conference, Ms. Jackie McWilliams. Commissioner McWilliams not only is a commissioner, but she's an alumnus of Hampton Institute University, Hampton University. I'm a Howard guy, it just comes out. It's hard to say that. A graduate of Hampton University where she played basketball. She's also a motivational speaker, and also something that we noticed we have this in common. I'm a connecting link because I'm married to a link. She's a member of the Jules Link chapter. And give it up for the commissioner of the CIAA. Don't ask her for no tickets, y'all. Jackie McWilliams, Commissioner.
Thank you.
You heard him talk just a second ago, and I would say this. I'd make the argument that I don't deny that I've got a little bit of a voice when it comes to HBCU sports, but I think becoming one of the most influential voices in the HBCU world. He is the executive director of the MEAC SWAC Challenge as well as the Celebration Bowl, if you heard. He's also been named one of the most influential Atlantans, one of the top 100 influential in hospitality, one of the 50 most influential nonprofit leaders. And in 2016, he co-founded the Atlanta Friendship Initiative with William Bill Nordmark, an organization that focuses on connecting people of different ethnicities and backgrounds to foster better relations through friendships. He's my friend, and he is the executive director. He is John Grant. Well. Much esteemed group here, and I'm going to be kind of like the fan. So my job is to ask the questions that I think they want to hear when we talk about HBCU sports, athletics, past, present, and future. And so we'll go with the most present person in that, and that's Amir Hall. My first question goes to you. Being a fantastic HBCU football player, and you were a quarterback, what did you see were some of the benefits that you've taken throughout your life of going to Bowie State University?
I would definitely say leadership for one. You know, being a quarterback for the university for 3 years, always being in the spotlight. I just really took that leadership into account in my own life now. So just overall, just being a leader, something, whether if you didn't play football on campus, something that somebody could always look up to as a leader on and off the field.
Got to be that, and that comes with the position of playing quarterback,
Yeah,
having the leadership ability. Were there ever any times that you wondered how your game would have corresponded? You were at Bowie State. Had you gone to, let's say, an FCS school or maybe even a PWI institution?
I'd be a first-round pick. Yeah, definitely it would be different. You know, I think all of us, if you played at a HBCU, you always kind of dreamed of playing in front of 40,000 plus people, just getting that opportunity. And that's the thing, like the Celebration Bowl, I see what they're doing now, just trying to get more exposure like that. So definitely, I think players, present and former players would love to have that opportunity, but just gotta.
Gotcha. Commissioner McWilliams, from an administrative standpoint, you know, you've got athletes like Amir Hall putting out there representing their institutions. What are some of the, I'm not going to call them challenges, what are some of your goals you set out being an administrator, and what are some of the challenges you have in trying to accomplish your goals?
Well, I think as being an administrator, you know, you got to have a passion for students, right? You got to understand that they're in this for education. And so everything we do on a conference administrative side is to make sure that they're the center and the core of our vision and our mission. So as we create championship experiences, leadership development programs, the core of why we do it is so that Amir Hall can benefit from that. And so as a commissioner of the conference, my job is to work and influence with my board of directors to ensure that we have the resources, that we have the ability to match up what they need, but also what these students need every single day to play the game that they love.
And what does it feel like? I remember when I played at Howard University, there was always this riff, and I don't think it was exclusive to Howard. I think it's an HBCU issue where you're like, the administration doesn't have our back. You know, we felt like we would go out there, lay it on the line, and then it would be something like whether it was an extra meal or not having to take the bus here, but giving us a plane ride here or helping us out with weight rooms. We realized we're not at a PWI institution, but I do remember myself as a player feeling like, hey, does Howard have my back? Starting at the leadership, and I'm not talking about academically. How do you all take that when you hear those type of responses from your student athletes?
I mean, I would say for all of the 4 HBCU conferences, I can speak, you know, directly about CIAA. We're a family, so everybody has each other back all the time, right? We can compete on the field, we can compete on the courts. Our schools are different, but when it comes down to what's best for the student athlete, we fight hard. The resources are limited. Not just at black colleges, they're limited at some white institutions too. But since we're talking about HBCUs, we know what we're working with, and somehow our conference or our schools somehow come together, the institutions come together to make sure that these students have what they need. I mean, if you're in Division II and to go to national playoffs, not many schools are budgeting to play in the national playoffs, but they find the money so these students can go and play in the national playoffs. So we find money and resources where we want to put it.
Gotcha. Coach Washington, you heard my comment. You play now. Sometimes your job is to manage the expectations of those people coming to North Carolina A&T, what they'll receive, what they can expect during their playing days for you down in Greensboro. How do you feel about that being a player and now you're a coach in terms of the HBCU landscape and the expectations?
Well, I'll tell you what, for me, it was very nurturing. I think that's would be the one word that described my experience as a player at Mississippi Valley. When I got there, it was an environment that was very nurturing. It made sure that I got on the proper path, the best path for me to be successful. It was, as a coach, we'd like to keep it pretty much the same thing. I think it's very important that we have a foundation or a plan for these students, athletes, to be successful. And that's where it begins with me.
I think you put it nicely, but me, you know, I'm an old school HBCU player. I look at the mirror, I was like, man, they were so spoiled. How many uniform combinations did y'all have at Boots? They've got uniform combinations. I didn't get my name on my jersey till I made it to the NFL. They get it all. They want to switch it up and change everything, but that's good because y'all look good when you're presenting. And talking about looks, I will say this. I don't think there's been the most influential thing I've seen the past 5 years has been the emergence of the Celebration Bowl. And John Grant, I'll give him a round of applause if y'all have watched that Celebration Bowl on ABC. When you were putting together the team to do the Celebration Bowl, what was your goal and what was the thought process behind it?
To put together the best college football experience that any athlete could have. And that still remains our goal. And that experience for us was beyond just coming and playing on a national platform. but what could we provide the student athlete that would be also enhancing for them as individuals? And so our team constantly focuses on that. When they come, they get, we have partners that provide financial literacy sessions for them. When they come, we make sure that they get to tour a facility like this. And we also, when they come, in our partnership with the Black College Football Hall of Fame, the Celebration Bowl is the introduction platform for the incoming inductees. Those that will be inducted actually tomorrow night were first premiered at this past year's Celebration Bowl. And it gives our athletes an opportunity to engage and have conversations and learn from legends. So creating the stage that allows them to showcase their talent, but more than that, to walk away as better human beings by participating in this game.
And given that, are you pleased with the growth of the Celebration Bowl and where it's going, and what can we expect in the future?
Absolutely not. There's no rest for the weary. Whenever you become satisfied, Jay, as you well know, and all of our colleagues here on this stage, and many of you out there, complacency sets in. We don't know what the top looks like. And anyone that's there that says they're at the top have no idea also what the top looks like. The Celebration Bowl is going to be, and you hear me say this, is going to be a world-class bowl game experience, not just for the student athletes, but also for the fans. We have unique things in our bowl game that no other game played today, and I don't care what bowl it is, and they say, this is not from me, this is what they're telling me. From the college football championship game all the way through to the New Year's Six, what we have, pageantry, we have the legacy, we have the passion from our fans, we have our Greek engagement, and we have the most unique halftime shows of any bowl game. And I'll put that up against J-Lo and Shakira. I will put North Carolina A&T marching the blue and gold and the Alcorn State Braves.
Sounds of Dynamite.
The sounds of Dynamite up against anything that the NFL can put out on the Super Bowl to bring the energy out of fans. So that's what we're
All right. Get off your soapbox, man.
I
Get
can't
off your
help it,
soapbox.
man.
Okay, we get it. We heard it from you. Now, you don't hit nobody in that game. You're undefeated. Coach Washington, is he lying about
he's not.
how it feels and the impact, and how do the players appreciate everything they've got?
Absolutely not. I'll tell you what.
Describe your experience in being in the Celebration Bowl. You've been around 4 out of 5 of them.
Not only have I had that opportunity to have experience with the bowl, but I also had the opportunity to walk with John and with some of the business leaders here in this city and to understand their interests in this bowl is phenomenal. And when he made the statement, we haven't seen nothing yet, I believe it. I truly do, because I had the opportunity to walk with him and to see their interests and where this thing is headed. Now, one of the things that really struck me, the first year we played here in 15, that January, we had 30,000 applicants to apply for attendance at A&T in 1 month. 30,000 because of that bowl game. That's amazing to me, and it has blown me away.
And I remember that, and I think something that A&T did the right thing for, they embraced that. They embraced it. We would come talk to the coaches and the administrators. They're like, oh, we love that exposure we got on TV. We're going to do everything we can to get back. And then now, I tell everybody, it wasn't by chance. It was by choice that North Carolina A&T became the largest HBCU in the country. And the Celebration Bowl, they never wavered away from it. They always accepted it. Hey, we can do athletics and academics, and I think the Aggies have done a great job with that. Amir Hall, you've seen it on TV. What do you think about that? Is that something that you wish you would have the opportunity to play in?
Yeah, all the time. I watch it every year just to see the guys just celebrate after the game with the confetti. It's like you almost won a Super Bowl almost. So just to see that and just the growth of that game, man, I would just love to. A lot of guys in my conference would love to have something like that as well.
That would be a good one. I got to put you on the spot. Trey Oliver, get up here, man. Come here. I got a quick mic, man. We're going to put you on the spot. But my question is simple to you. What would it mean for you as the head coach of North Carolina Central to have an opportunity? I got a mic for you. Hello. What would it take for you? I'm putting you on the spot, man, because them Aggies think they own that trophy, man. You got to take your hat off to them because the Aggies earned it. But what would it mean for North Carolina Central to have that opportunity to participate in that game with that exposure and that crowd there?
Well, I mean, it's an outstanding experience. Like Coach said, in 2015, I had the opportunity to coach in the first one, and ANC won. Central, came back and played in it as well against Grambling State University. But the exposure that you get is unbelievable, and you can't pay for that type of exposure. And the John has done a great job with it, and I just take my hat off to him and the committee.
Is that what you tell your team? So right now, you're doing all this recruiting, and you're doing the weight lift, you're doing the training. Are you telling them this is what we have to do in order to make it to Atlanta?
That's it. And I had a group of guys, recruits on campus this morning, and what we sell is that bowl game. All these playoffs and everything else is good, but we're the only FCS school conference, us and the SWAC, that can play on that national stage and play in a bowl game. You see the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and all those things, but how many of those FCS schools are playing on national television on that stage?
Gotcha. Give it up, Coach Oliver. I put you on the spot. Eagle Pride, Amplified, something like that. Yeah, I hear y'all. Well, like I tell everybody, I'm gonna be at the Celebration Bowl. I hope you make it. But it really is. That being
Hey, me too.
Commissioner McWilliams, we heard Amir talk about wanting to have an opportunity to play at that stage. I would say in the HBCU world, there's nothing bigger than the CIAA basketball tournament. What is it going to take to try and make the CIAA, you all go to the playoffs, Division II, what would it take to amplify the exposure that the CIAA football gets moving forward?
Well, CIAA tournament that's our meat and potatoes. I mean, that's the reality of our conference. We're a basketball conference. Football has been really good to us as well. I think we try our best to give the exposure to our student athletes on the football platform. As Amir would say, the experience for what we see on Celebration is a little bit different from what you see at the CIAA. We do have our sports network. We are televised. We are on the Spire network across the country. All of our schools have access to our network so that all of our sports are being promoted throughout the year. In football, we start out with that. I think we've done a really good job in promoting the interest of who our student athletes are as part of our game. So we're talking about the sport, we're promoting the sport, but we're also telling the stories about Amir and Cannon and all those athletes that are coming through our programs and our coaches that are making impact. It's just a different type of impact in Division II. And we can't compete with MEAC and SWAC, but we can make sure that we're doing what we need to do to give that exposure to our student athletes at this level.
Gotcha. I got to pick on you a little bit. Amir, coming to you. She said it. I didn't say it. But
he needs to say it too, Amir.
No, you don't want, not the way I'm setting up this question. So for years we've always heard, why don't you have the champion of the SWAC, champion of the MEAC, champion of the SIAC, champion of the CIAA meeting the 14 playoff? Amir, you think y'all can handle that?
Without a doubt.
Commissioner?
I'm always ready to sit at the table, so absolutely we could talk about it. But, again, you have two different divisions, 4 different board of directors who make decisions about what's happening with our institutions and athletic directors. It would take a lot of conversation to get that done.
Gotcha. And John Grant, I know you don't like hearing that, but let's suppose tomorrow you're appointed to be the commissioner of either any of the HBCU conferences or just a commissioner of HBCU football. What would be your plan? What would you implement day one to help grow the product?
Man, you've asked me a tough question.
Hold the mic up now. Don't get quiet now. You've been talking
notice
all day.
Well, I think, as it's been said, the student athletes are first and foremost. But I absolutely believe that you get more together than you do apart. And the conversations at this point, where we are today, a part of our objective is to also elevate the brand of historically black colleges and universities. it's not just the MEAC and the SWAC. If we were looking at it that way, we'd be very narrow in our thinking. So our team is always always focused on making sure that we use the stage of national television. And with the Air Force Reserve, we were broadcast in 140 countries around the world. But the message is always about the value of historically black colleges and universities. The value of historically black colleges and universities. I mean, everyone sitting on this stage is a product. And that's not by accident. It is intentional, because I had instructors who told me, look, you're as good as anyone. No one is better than you. Equal to, maybe. Better than, absolutely not. And so that's what I believe. And I believe that today. And so when you heard me say that the Celebration Bowl and the MEAC SWAC Challenge, which we also brought to Atlanta to kick off the college football game, will be world-class properties, they will be world-class properties.
Gotcha.
Period. And I believe that.
I believe in you, so let's get it done. You're not going to sneak in here and think I don't recognize you. Legendary football coach Bill Curry. Coach Curry, you know him from coached at Alabama, Georgia State. Appreciate you so much coming out. I'll open up the mic. Do you want your mic? You want to give us a couple comments on the importance of HBCU football and what you think about it? There you go. Round of applause for Coach Curry. Pleasure.
You surprised me.
Of course. I'm in the media. That's what we do.
When Dennis called me, I got suspicious that this might happen, but really I'm thrilled because I've met so many wonderful people here tonight who were trailblazers in HBCU football. But I have a more personal connection that is life-changing for me. And I'll make this brief, but I was right down the street at Georgia Tech. I was an undersized offensive lineman. I was the last draft choice of the Green Bay Packers. I was so clueless, I did not know that there was a draft. I didn't know that they were holding a draft. And my brother-in-law called me, woke me up, and said, "Hello, Green Bay Packer." I hung up on him. He called me back and said, "You better get a newspaper. The Green Bay Packers have drafted you." Well, I'd never gotten a letter from the Packers. Lombardi had turned to his personnel man. They had 20 rounds in those days. They only have 7 now because they don't know the names after 7. Lombardi had turned to Pat Pepler, his personnel man, who loved to tell this story publicly. He said, "Pepler, it's 2 in the morning. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. We've drafted 19 players. Do something humorous with the 20th selection." So they did. And I showed up in 1965 with the Green Bay Packers, and I had several challenges. And I've already mentioned a couple of them: size, speed, experience, all that. Vince Lombardi was not Bobby Dodd. And I had never been in a huddle with an African-American person. Vince Lombardi had a lot of great attributes, but he doesn't get credit for his best one. Vince Lombardi's greatest attribute is that he would not tolerate racism. When he got to the Green Bay Packers, they had 1 African-American player. By the time I got there 6 years later, on a 40-man roster, there were 10 African-American players, and he didn't care. There might have been 40, and it wouldn't have mattered a bit to him because he only looked at one thing: can you play football? He didn't care about the color of your skin. So I show up there, and we have, and the football people in this audience are going to understand the quality of players we had: Willie Wood, Herb Adderley, Willie Davis. I'm getting to Willie Davis here, and Lionel Aldridge, Elijah Pitts, Bob Jeter. It was unbelievable, the talent. And other teams in the NFL, many of the teams had racial quotas. They'd have 1 or 2 African-American players or none, and they bragged about it. And we destroyed them every Sunday. And I used to wonder, are they going to figure this out or what? But my problem was that I figured that those guys, I'm serious now, would hear my southern accent. I would probably say something stupid and racist, and I did. Didn't mean to, didn't understand what I was doing, and that they would injure me and send me home. And I was terrified of one thing, and that's calling my girl and say, they're going to send me home, I'm not good enough. So in that state of mind, I'm trying to deal with all these facts. Oh, and we had a middle linebacker named Ray Nitschke, whom I was supposed to block, and that was hilarious. And he broke my nose and my face mask and knocked me out. That was the first day. And I had to decide, am I going to keep trying to do this? And so I was discouraged. Oh, and another thing, we're in Wisconsin, and it's August, and it's 43 degrees. That ain't right. So I'm walking out, and the most intimidating of all was Grambling State University's Willie Davis. Future Hall of Famer, already an All-Pro, working on his master's degree in business at the University of Chicago, while being the captain of the greatest team in the history of professional sport. Packers were already being called the greatest team in history, and they were yet to win those 3 in a row. They won 5 world titles in 7 years. That will never be done again, ever. So I'm walking out of the dorm really discouraged, freezing cold, pitch black, and a voice comes out of the darkness from behind me, Bill. I thought it was God. I just sat down in the grass. It was Willie Davis. And I thought, uh-oh, he's going to tell me to get lost. He said, I need to talk to you for a minute. And I said, okay. He said, I've been watching you. I like your effort. You got a chance to make our team, and I'm going to help you. I said, you're going to help me? He said, yeah. When Lombardi is spewing profanity in your face and spitting in your eye, and Nitschke's tearing your head off, you come find me, and I'll get you through it. I'll get you through it. You know what we called him? We called him Dr. Feelgood. And sure enough, when I get beat up, I'd run find Willie D, and I'd say, how you feel, old man? He'd say, feel good, man, feel good. You can do it. You can do it. So what did the great man do for the terrified white kid, the clueless white kid? He didn't just help me to play in a bunch of Super Bowls. He changed my life. He gave me a mission in life. Every team I ever coached, in fact, the first speaker we had for our first Georgia State team was Willie Davis, right over here on the campus, because I couldn't believe how lucky I was to be able to get him and come to do that. So there are many more great stories I could tell you, but if there had not been an Eddie Robinson, had there not been a Grambling State University, had there not been the great tradition of HCBU, did I get that right?
HBCU, close enough.
Yeah, well, I was an offensive lineman. Had there not been you, then there would have been no football career for Bill Curry. God bless you. I'm forever indebted to all of you, and I'm grateful that I got a chance to share that.
Thank you so much, Coach. On the spot. Thank you so much. Thank everybody for coming to the Bill Curry Show. Good job, Coach. Thank you. And you talk about Willie Davis, for those who don't know, Hall of Fame offensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers and disciple of Coach Eddie Robinson. And I don't think you can have any HBCU discussion without talking about Eddie Robinson or mentioning his name. And Coach Washington, what's it going to take for you to be mentioned in the likes of an Eddie Robinson one day? You're coming behind one legend in Rod Broadway. Wow. You've done a pretty good job of filling those shoes, but now what's next for you and the Aggies?
Well, the next thing would be, of course, the Big Talk is moving to another conference, and that's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough road to travel, but I think we are preparing ourselves. We will be prepared when that day arrives.
Now, the talk was, I don't want to cut you off. The talk I had heard in Greensboro was A&T's eyeing a move up. Right? There was some talk about maybe going to the FBS, going to the Sun Belt or a conference like that. Then all of a sudden they changed and it went to the you're going into the Big South Conference with Campbell along with those schools there. Was a impression that maybe it wasn't realistic to try to go FBS, that maybe we need to go FCS on the way to FBS, or what was the thought process behind that, which you can share?
Well, understand now, these decisions were made above my pay scale. So let's make sure we understand that. Yeah, the presidents and as I understand, the ultimate goal is to become a FBS. That is the ultimate goal, and perhaps this is the path in which we have to travel, to get there.
Do you think that the HBCU should continue to play the money games?
Yeah.
Okay.
For many reasons. It takes money to run a program, and then those opportunities come far and in between. So if you get a chance to earn some money and win, you're really doing something. And we had that fortune. The last couple of times we played the BS teams, we were able to defeat them.
Knocked off East Carolina. What'd you tell East Carolina after you beat them?
Bring me my money.
It went viral, but I think, and anybody can chime in, I'm torn on that as an alumnus of an HBCU. The proudest moment I've had in the last 20 years of being an alumnus of Howard was when the Bison beat UNLV in the biggest upset in sportsbook betting history. I was proud of that. If you don't play money games, you don't have that. But then you also hate when you see another team from your conference getting beat 59-3, 48-0, and they start to question, should you play those games? And I make the argument that, I remember covering Darius Leonard from South Carolina State, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. He made his national name in a money game versus Clemson. When he had 14 tacks versus Clemson, that put him on the radar. So as an athlete, I would love the opportunity to test my skill against those, particularly playing quarterback. I wanted to prove that I could outthrow all the other players out there. How would you feel about playing a money game, Amir? And I'm going to go to Commissioner McWilliams as well. What are your thoughts about money games? Because I know on the Division II level, a money game for you all is like playing another HBCU sometimes. So I'd like to hear both your thoughts on those.
Yeah, I think our money game will probably be playing against your alma mater, against Howard. Yeah, I think it's big, man. Like you said, being a quarterback with what you were in the past is huge. Just to test your skill set against somebody on that level and to show that you might be better than them. So I think money games is just really important.
Now, when you were at Bowie, did you all play Morgan State? Did you all used to play Morgan? You guys never played the money games?
No, we didn't play Morgan.
I remember a couple of years Bowie beat Morgan State one time, I believe.
Yeah, that was actually before I got there.
Yep. Commissioner McWilliams, your thoughts on the money game? Does it come from the conferences and the schools themselves to make that decision?
We could have this debate. I don't agree with it all the time. And part of the reason is I feel like there's exposure to our student athletes. We're using our student athletes to make money in some sense. I get the whole competition piece. If you're not going to give the institution the funds they need to make sure that, our schools can compete with those schools that are paying the money, I have a problem. I don't feel like we should put student athletes on a field to play a big school when they're not equipped or have the resources they need to get their programs in a state of that just for money. Coaches and I have had this conversation. We have it's a debate constantly. I understand it's a revenue opportunity, but if you create that revenue opportunity, make sure that you put your student athletes in the best position to compete in that revenue opportunity. So that's kind of where I stand. Should it happen? Could it? Absolutely, but not on the backs or the impact that it has on our student athletes competing teams that are much bigger, much stronger, and we're not putting resources in our schools to allow them to compete at that level.
Yeah, and one of the things I've always, as a player, always thought, if you're going to play a money game, if you're going to get $500,000, then the $500,000, at least half of that should go towards the football program. The student athletes putting it there, and that way the next year you're not losing 58-10. You're losing 50-18. Then you start to close that gap. I've just seen too many cases where the institutions have put the money in the general fund, so to speak, and then I think you're really doing a disservice to the athletes there. We're talking about funds, and I talked to an Aggie earlier out there, and it felt good to have him. I think me and Mr. Grant were talking. He came up and said, I'm an Aggie, and I support my program, meaning I give dollars behind my name, and hats off for doing that, what's it going to take to get more people, because it's all about resources, to get more people to get involved to support these student athletes on the field and on their endeavors? Grant? John, you want to go with John? We'll go down the list if we need to.
That is the money game. That's the money game. If we really want to have our athletes compete, we really want to raise funds for our university and our athletic programs, write a check. It's pure and simple. Write a check. So to me, if we're going to have a conversation, and Commissioner, I agree with what you're saying. I do understand what Coach is saying, but we're playing the wrong money game. And that game should not necessarily be on the backs of the student athletes. It should be on the backs of the alumni who walk around wearing the marks of their university, saying, in this case, Aggie Pride, but they're not writing a check. And that is the disgrace. And that is not a burden that the student athlete should bear. It's the responsibility of every single person who walks across that stage with a degree from that university to the obligation to write that check so that it's not on the backs. And if they do go to play a big college game, you notice I didn't say money game, a big college game, they're much better equipped, they're much better prepared, and they compete in an equal way. Let's play that money game.
Gotcha.
Jay,
Anybody want to
can I
add on? Sure.
So a whole nother, to that extent, I totally agree. You know, our tournaments, our championships depend on ticket revenue. So there are no comp tickets and there's no more credentials. We need you to purchase tickets. As I tell my team, every time we give a ticket away for any event, I just took away from a student athlete. I just took away from the experience of giving back in a community. So we depend on ticket revenue in order to execute excellence in our events. The other piece is, whether it's a struggle for me, and my daughter is going to Hampton University. She's going to be the legacy of my family. That's where my money's going. What I'm finding is we're not sending our kids to HBCUs anymore. It's not an option. All of us should say your top option, at least in your top 5, should be an HBCU, period, in my opinion. That's me. So my daughter's, her first one is Hampton, and then she can select all the other 4, but she's going to Hampton. That's
Probably
where my
go to
money's
Howard.
going. Right, and if she changes it, it's fine, but I planted the seed early enough for her to understand. So outside of that, she has a responsibility, wherever she graduates, to give back to that institution, as I do, and purchase her tickets. That's how it works, on top of what you said.
I would tell you, she means it, because I asked her for 2 tickets to the CIAA basketball tournament, and she said, you can buy them. So that's leadership. Practice what you preach. All right, let's have a
I'm
little
gonna
fun
help you,
with
Jane.
this.
You can come on, be my guest.
Let's have a little fun with this one. We are in the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm going off script a little bit. I just want to hear this and see the differences. So everybody get your microphones up. We're going to do this rapid style, and I'm going to ask you this question. Amir Hall, who is the greatest black college football player ever?
Doug Williams.
Sam.
Walter Payton.
Commissioner.
Amir Hall.
John Grant.
Jerry Rice.
Yeah, good.
Jay Walker says Steve McNair, but you can't go wrong with any of those folks there. Greatest coach outside, underrated coach, greatest underrated coach in black college football out there. You got to learn your history, man. You see your legacy. Who you going with? Damon Wilson.
Damon Wilson.
It's coach at Bowie State. All right, Coach Washington.
Rob Broadway.
Rob Broadway.
I'm gonna call Bill Hayes.
Wild Bill Hayes. All right.
I'm going to agree with Coach Rod Broadway.
Okay. I'm going to go Jake Gaither, just to mix it up there a little bit. Just a little bit. Best current HBCU football player playing football in the NFL right now. And I will tell you, they've got an award here at the ceremony tomorrow. And I'll tell you who won that award if you don't know. But I'm going to say who is the greatest current HBCU football player playing in the NFL right now.
Tariq Cohen.
Tariq Cohen.
Tariq.
Man, that's a good one. And let me tell you why it's a good one. See, I had this list. And let me tell you what's on this list, if I can answer this real quick.
You can give me your answer first because I'm moderating. Then we can come back to your list if we need to do that.
Well,
Mr. Grant.
the greatest player right now,
who?
I'm going to say Alex Brown, who clinched the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs, who went to South Carolina State University, because he's got a Super Bowl ring.
I got you.
Right now.
Jay Walker's going to say off of performance. I'm going to go with Darius Leonard. Darius Leonard. I think he had a fantastic year going to Pro Bowl. Love Tariq Cohen, but numbers were down a little bit. But also, let's give a round of applause to the Black College Hall of Fame. They named their annual Black College Player of the Year in the NFL, and this year went out to South Carolina State alumnus and current Pittsburgh Steeler, Javon Hargrave. So let's show Javon Hargrave some love. Can't go wrong with those choices there. Final comment before we wrap this up. We'll start with John Grant at the end.
This is the greatest.
Now you can talk about your list if you want to do that.
Oh.
Now. You want
I will. Thank you.
All right.
But this is the greatest time for historically black colleges and universities in probably the last 50 years. This moment right here, right now. And it's on our watch. On our watch. Here's the question for you. What are you prepared to do? I have a list here, and this list is of players that are currently in the NFL that, and this by no way means a full list. I was just looking at this today. Titus Howard, Alabama State University, first round pick, Houston Texans. Darrell Johnson, North Carolina A&T, Buffalo Bills. Joshua Miles, Morgan State, Arizona Cardinals. Quentin Bell, Prairie View A&M, Oakland Raiders. Darius Leonard, South Carolina State, Indianapolis Colts. Brandon Parker, North Carolina A&T, Steelers. Chad Williams, Grambling State University, Cardinals, and he's now with the Colts. Javon Hargrove, whom you heard earlier, South Carolina State Steelers. Alex Brown, South Carolina State, who just won the Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs. Tariq Cohen, North Carolina A&T Bears. Kari Lee, Bowie State, Buffalo Bills. Marquette King, Fort Valley State with the Broncos. Grover Stewart, Albany State with the Indianapolis Colts. William Hayes, Winston-Salem State with the Dolphins. Trenton Cannon, who is with Virginia State, is with the Jets. This is just a few of the names. This is by no means right now out of HBCUs playing the game at the highest level.
Commissioner McWilliams.
Yeah, I would say as a commissioner and a leader of collegiate athletics, I take it real serious in having the opportunity to be on these types of panels to talk about historically black colleges and universities, not just CIAA, but all of those, because we're all impacted in different ways. I also take the responsibility to ensure that our student athletes, no matter what division, are treated fairly. They have the opportunity to advance and be their very best on the field and in the classroom. It is an honor always to see our students and how they advance at HBCUs. And every day I get the opportunity, every day, to live out my passion to ensure that these students, working with presidents and working with athletic directors, get to do that on a daily basis. I don't know the names of all players. I love the sport because it brings communities like this together. It allows us to make amazing impact. It allows us to give our students increased opportunities to get recruited and hired if they don't get to play the game. So I love sports in a whole different way, but I love the CIAA and our HBCUs because we do take care of our kids, and we are a family, and it really does matter. And so we have to do things as a community to ensure that our HBCUs continue to thrive and be better and more excellent every day.
Coach Washington.
Hey, that's tough to follow. My thing would be academics. I think, we as athletes, we get so hung up on the game and competing. The football is just a means. The goal should be the education. That's what's going to take you places you never dreamed of. And it's going to open opportunities. It's going to open doors for you, when you're, and then to earn that degree, have so much worth. I also would like to thank the Aggie family. We were just talking about, the need of money and how important it is to give. I've coached at many black institutions, and I've never known no one to give as well as the Aggies do. And for that, I thank you. One other thing before I leave, I'd like to recognize one other coach, okay?
Sure.
Coach Jones, Adrian Jones, Shaw University.
I'm sorry about that, Coach.
Now I'm going to brag a little bit right here now. He and Coach Oliver, I coached.
Been coaching a while.
At Central. And also Marcus Abbott. Marcus played for us at A&T. He works here at the Hall of Fame.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that. You work here at the Hall of Fame? There you go. That's what's up. Coach Ross, thank you. And I got to thank, I'm sorry, Coach, I should acknowledge you. You sent me some nice swag that I wore on my show, so I appreciate that, from Shaw University, Shaw Bears. Amir Hall.
I truly just want to say I'm grateful for all the past players who laid the foundation for me to perform at this level, to get opportunities to sit on this panel and talk about just our history, and just being one of the, just adding and being another leader that the future generations can take this to a whole nother level. And I'm just forever grateful for the opportunity to play at my HBCU and all the HBCUs across the country.
All right. It's not easy. You can tell he's still a little shiny. You're going to have something that not many people can say. You are going down as one of the greatest HBCU players of all time. 2-time winner of the Player of the Year award. Don't underestimate yourself, man. We expect great things from you wherever it may be. If I'll just add the following comment, I would just say I like the dialogue that we had here. I think it was fantastic. I always go back to what my mother said when I was getting recruited by some of the other schools, and my mom said, "You have an opportunity to go to Howard University for free?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't care what the other school's talking about. You're behind at least going to visit." And it was that visit where Howard took over and ended up there. But I think you have to have the support. The challenge I make to all the fans of HBCUs, we all support each other, but the HBCU football season is so much more than just one game. I think the one thing that hurts me is you save up to go to homecoming, and we won't see you the rest of the year. You save up to go to Classic, we won't see you the rest of the year. You can do that, but make sure you buy your season tickets to support the student athletes that lay it on the line for you every week. And if you don't contribute to your school, then when you go to the game, you don't have a right to boo. All you can do is cheer, because you're not doing what it takes. With that being said, thank y'all so much for a wonderful discussion there. And let's look forward to another fantastic year and years to come of HBCU football.